first contact, the vast expanse of space stretched before Zack-7's viewport, an endless sea of stars and distant galaxies. The scout ship's sensors hummed softly, scanning for signs of intelligent life among the countless worlds passing by. Zack-7, a seasoned explorer from the advanced Zoraxian civilization, had charted hundreds of planets across the galaxy, yet none had prepared him for what he was about to discover. As the ship approached a small blue-green planet in an unremarkable solar system, the sensors suddenly came alive with activity. Zack-7's 4 eyes widened in surprise as data streams flooded his neural interface. This world, designated Earth by its inhabitants, was teeming with life, and not just simple organisms, but a thriving, technologically advancing species. Fascinating, Zack-7 muttered, his voice a melodic series of clicks and whistles. He adjusted his ship's trajectory, bringing it closer to the planet for a more detailed analysis. The Zoraxians had long searched for other sentient species, but most worlds they encountered harbored only primitive life forms. Earth, however, showed signs of a civilization on the brink of interstellar capabilities. As Zack-7's ship entered the planet's upper atmosphere, he marveled at the intricate network of lights spread across the darker portions of the globe. Cities, he realized, each one a testament to the ingenuity of this young species. Radio waves and digital signals bombarded his ship's receivers, carrying fragments of music, conversations, and data transfers. Such diversity, Zack-7 noted, his neural interface struggling to process the sheer volume of information. The Zoraxian civilization, despite its technological prowess, had long ago reached a state of cultural homogeneity. Earth, by contrast, was a vibrant tapestry of languages, cultures, and ideas. Eager to observe these humans up close, Zack-7 guided his ship lower, aiming for a remote forested region to avoid immediate detection. The scout vessel, designed for stealth, shimmed slightly as it descended through clouds and air currents. Zack-7 felt a flutter of excitement in his chest cavity. This was the closest contact he'd ever had with a developing sentient species. Suddenly, warning lights flashed across the ship's control panel. Zack-7's appendages moved swiftly over the interfaces, trying to identify the problem. A surge of electromagnetic energy, unlike anything he'd encountered before, was interfering with the ship's systems. "Impossible," Zack-7 whispered, his vocal sacs vibrating with concern. The energy signature didn't match any known natural phenomenon. As the ship continued its descent, the interference grew stronger, causing critical systems to fail one by one. Alarms blared as the scout vessel lost altitude control. Zack-7 fought with the controls, his training kicking in as he attempted to stabilize the craft. Trees rushed up to meet him, their green canopy filling the viewport. With a bone-jarring impact, the ship crashed through the forest ceiling, bouncing off massive trunks before coming to a grinding halt in a small clearing. Silence fell, broken only by the occasional spark from damaged circuitry and the distant calls of startled wildlife. Zack-7, dazed but unharmed thanks to the ship's safety protocols, slowly regained his senses. As the emergency lights bathed the cabin in a soft blue glow, he ran a quick diagnostic. The ship was damaged beyond his ability to repair with onboard resources. He was stranded. Taking a deep breath of the ship's atmosphere, Zack-7 activated his exosuit. It would protect him from Earth's alien environment and help translate any encounters with the local life forms. With a soft hiss, the airlock opened, allowing the scout to take his first steps onto Earth's soil. The forest around him was unlike anything in the Zoraxian database. Towering trees reached toward the sky, their leaves rustling in a gentle breeze. The air was thick with the scent of vegetation and damp earth. In the distance, Zack-7 could hear the faint sound of running water. As he surveyed the crash site, Zack-7's scientific curiosity overtook his concern for the damaged ship. Each plant, each insect buzzing past was a new discovery, a piece of data to be catalogued and analyzed. He collected samples, his exosuit systems working overtime to process the unfamiliar organic structures. The sound of water grew louder as Zack-7 moved away from the crash site. Pushing through a thick undergrowth, he found himself at the edge of a pristine lake. Its surface sparkled in the moonlight, reflecting the star-studded sky above. For a moment, Zack-7 stood in awe of the natural beauty before him, so different from the carefully engineered environments of his homeworld. As he approached the water's edge, intent on collecting a sample, a flash of movement caught his attention. Something large was moving beneath the surface, leaving ripples in its wake. Zack-7 leaned closer, his scanner ready to capture data on this new life form. Without warning, the water erupted in a shower of silvery droplets. A massive fish, its scales shimmering with an otherworldly iridescence, leaped from the lake. It hung in the air for what seemed like an eternity, its eyes meeting Zack-7's gaze with an intelligence that seemed impossible for an aquatic creature. Then, in a transformation that defied everything Zack-7 knew about biology and physics, the fish began to change. Its form shimmed and flowed like liquid mercury, reshaping itself in mid-air. Zack-7 watched, transfixed, as the fish's tail split into legs, its fins elongated into arms, and its head morphed into a human-like visage. Where the fish had been, a young woman now stood on the surface of the lake, water droplets cascading off her silvery hair. She smiled at the stunned alien, her eyes holding the same mysterious intelligence Zack-7 had seen in the fish. "Welcome to Earth, traveler," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the water. "I am Lyra, guardian of this lake and keeper of wishes. You have crash-landed in a place of ancient magic, far from the realms of ordinary science. Tell me, Starborn One, what is it you desire most in this moment?" Zack-7, for the first time in his long career as a scout, found himself utterly speechless. His exosuit's translation matrix struggled to make sense of the situation, flashing warning signs about reality distortions and sensory malfunctions. Yet he knew, with a certainty that transcended his scientific training, that what he was witnessing was real. As the moonlight played across the lake's surface, Zack-7 realized that his mission had just become far more complex and far more intriguing than he could have ever imagined. The universe, it seemed, still had secrets that even the advanced Zaraxtian civilization had yet to unravel. And here, on this small blue planet, in a hidden forest glade, those secrets were beginning to reveal themselves. The magical encounter. Zack-7 stood motionless at the lake's edge, his exosuit's sensors working overtime to process the impossible scene before him. Lyra, the woman who had moments ago been a fish, waited patiently on the water's surface, her silver hair reflecting the moonlight like a halo. I don't understand," Zack-7 finally managed, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into the local language. "This defies all known laws of physics and biology." Lyra laughed, a sound like tinkling bells. "Oh, dear traveler, there are more things in the universe than your science can explain. Magic exists in the spaces between atoms, in the gaps of quantum probability. Here, in this ancient place, it pools like the very water beneath my feet." Cautiously, Zack-7 approached the water. His scanner showed nothing unusual about the lake's composition, just H2O and common minerals. Yet there stood Lyra, as impossible as she was real. "You mentioned wishes," Zack-7 said, his scientific mind latching onto this piece of information. "What did you mean by that?" Lyra's expression grew serious. "As the guardian of this lake, I have the power to grant 3 wishes to those who find their way here. But be warned, Starborn One, wishes are powerful things. They can change the course of lives, of worlds even. Use them wisely." Zack-7's mind raced. 3 wishes. It sounded like something out of the human folklore he had briefly studied during his approach to Earth. Could he use them to repair his ship, to contact his people, or perhaps to unlock the secrets of this strange magic? "How does this wishing process work?" he asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his initial shock. Lyra gracefully walked across the water's surface, each step creating ripples that quickly faded. As she reached the shore, Zack-7 noticed that she left no wet footprints on the ground. "It's simple," she explained. "You voice your desire, and if it's within my power, it shall be granted. But remember, you have only 3. Choose carefully." Zack-7 considered his options. His primary mission was to observe and report on new civilizations, not to interfere. Using wishes could dramatically alter the course of human development. Yet, the opportunity to study this phenomenon was too great to pass up. "I need time to think," he said finally. "This is overwhelming." Lyra nodded understandingly. "Of course, magic requires respect and careful consideration. Why don't you tell me about yourself and your people while you ponder? I'm curious about the worlds beyond our sky." And so, as the night deepened, Zack-7 found himself engaged in the strangest debriefing of his career. He told Lyra about the Zyraxian civilization, their advanced technology, their vast interstellar empire, their quest for knowledge. In turn, Lyra shared stories of Earth's history, of the magic that once flowed freely across the planet, now hidden in secret pockets like this forest. As dawn began to paint the sky in pastel hues, Zack-7 realized he had learned more about humanity in one night than he could have gleaned from years of distant observation. The complexity of their myths, the depth of their emotions, the richness of their imagination, all of it pointed to a species with immense potential. "Your people are fascinating," Zack-7 admitted. "So young, yet so full of promise. I begin to understand why this planet resonates with such magic." Lyra smiled. "We are a contradictory species, capable of great beauty and terrible destruction. Magic is drawn to such potential, to the flux of possibility." As the first rays of sunlight touched the lake, Zack-7 made a decision. "I think I'm ready for my first wish," he said. Lyra's eyes sparkled with interest. "Very well. What is your heart's desire, traveler from the stars?" Zack-7 took a deep breath, his exosuit adjusting to match the changing atmosphere of the dawn. "I wish for the ability to understand and perceive the magical energies of this world, just as I can perceive the electromagnetic spectrum." Lyra's eyebrows rose in surprise. "An interesting choice. Most who come here wish for power or wealth. You seek knowledge." "Knowledge is the greatest power," Zack-7 replied, "and the truest wealth." Lyra nodded approvingly. "So be it. Your wish is granted, Starborn One." For a moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, like a veil lifting from his eyes, Zack-7 saw the world anew. The lake shimmered with more than just reflected light. Threads of energy danced across its surface, pulsing in rhythm with the planet's heartbeat. The trees glowed with life force, each leaf a reservoir of magical potential. And Lyra blazed like a star, her form barely containing the vast energies within her. Zack-7 gasped, his senses struggling to categorize and analyze the influx of new data. "Incredible," he whispered. "It's everywhere, interwoven with the very fabric of reality." "Now you begin to see," Lyra said, her voice echoing with newfound depth. "Magic is not separate from your science. It is the foundation upon which the laws of physics are built. The source code of the universe, if you will." As Zack-7 marveled at his new perceptions, a distant sound caught his attention. Voices, human voices, were approaching through the forest. The local inhabitants had likely noticed the disturbance caused by his crash landing. "We have company," he said, a note of concern in his voice. His mission protocols dictated minimal contact with developing civilizations. Lyra nodded. "Indeed. It seems your time of hidden observation is at an end, Zack-7. Are you prepared to face humanity directly?" Zack-7 considered the question. His new magical senses showed him the approaching humans, each one a unique tapestry of energies, fears, hopes, and dreams. He saw their potential, their capacity for growth and understanding. In that moment, he knew that the standard non-interference protocols were inadequate for this situation. "I am," he said firmly. But I may need your help, Lyra. There is much at stake here, not just for me or my people, but for humanity as well. Lyra's smile was both warm and mysterious. Then let us greet them together, traveler. Your journey on Earth has only just begun, and I suspect it will reshape not only your understanding of the universe, but the destiny of two civilizations. As the human voices grew closer, Zack-7 and Lyra stood side by side at the lake's edge. The alien explorer, with his newfound magical senses, and the mystical guardian of the lake prepared to usher in a new era of human-alien relations. The fate of Earth and perhaps the galaxy hung in the balance as the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees, illuminating the unlikely pair. The stage was set for an encounter that would challenge the limits of science, magic, and the human spirit. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the Zaraxian civilization remained unaware that their routine scouting mission was about to change the course of galactic history. The first wish and its consequences. As the sound of human voices grew louder, Zack-7 felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. His new magical senses revealed the approaching group as a kaleidoscope of emotions and energies. Curiosity, fear, wonder, and determination all swirled together in a vibrant display. Remember, Lyra whispered, they've never encountered beings from beyond their world. Be patient with them. Zack-7 nodded, his exosuit adjusting its appearance to seem less intimidating. The foliage parted, and 3 humans stepped into the clearing. Their eyes widened at the sight before them, an alien being standing beside a woman with silver hair who seemed to glow in the morning light. Holy shit, one of them, a young man with wild red hair, exclaimed. It's real. The UFO crash was real. Who? What are you? Asked an older woman, her grey hair tied back in a neat bun. Despite the shock evident on her face, her voice remained calm and authoritative. Zack-7's translator worked quickly. I am Zack-7, an explorer from a planet far from here. I mean you no harm. My ship crashed in your forest, and I encountered Lyra, the guardian of this lake. The humans exchanged glances, their auras flickering with a mix of disbelief and awe. The third member of the group, a young woman with dark skin and bright, curious eyes, stepped forward. I'm Dr. Amelia Chen, she said, her voice filled with barely contained excitement. Xenobiologist. I've dreamed of this moment my entire life. Can you tell us about your world? Your species, the technology that brought you here. Zack-7 was impressed by her eagerness to learn. It reminded him of his own passion for discovery. I would be happy to share what I can, Dr. Chen, but first I must ask, how did you find us so quickly? The older woman spoke up. I'm Maya Sarah Thompson. When your ship crashed, it caused quite a stir in our town. We've had our fair share of strange occurrences in these woods, but never anything like this. We formed a search party immediately. As they spoke, Zack-7 noticed the magical energies around them shifting. The humans were unconsciously tapping into the latent magic of the forest, their very presence changing the flow of energy. It was fascinating to watch. Perhaps we should move this conversation to a more comfortable location, Lyra suggested, her eyes twinkling with amusement. I believe your people have many questions, and Zack-7 has much to share. Mayor Thompson nodded. We have a community center in town. It's not far from here. We can gather the town council and, well, figure out what to do next. As they began to walk, Dr. Chen peppered Zack-7 with questions about interstellar travel, alien biology, and the vastness of space. The red-haired young man, who introduced himself as Jack, seemed more interested in Lyra and the concept of magic. So, you can really grant wishes? Jack asked, his aura pulsing with excitement. Lyra smiled mysteriously. Under certain conditions, yes, but wishes are not to be taken lightly. They have consequences far beyond what most can imagine. Zack-7 listened to their conversations, marveling at how quickly the humans had adapted to the situation. Their capacity for accepting new realities was impressive. However, As they neared the town, he began to sense a growing disturbance in the magical field. "Lyra," he whispered, "something's wrong. The energies are agitated." Lyra's expression grew serious. "You're right. It seems your first wish is having some unexpected effects." As they crested a hill, the town came into view. Zack 7 gasped at what he saw. The entire town was engulfed in a soft, pulsating glow. Objects were floating in the air, defying gravity. In the town square, a fountain had transformed into a spiraling tower of water that reached toward the sky. "What's happening?" Mayor Thompson demanded, her calm demeanor cracking at the sight of her town in magical chaos. Zack 7 realized with a sinking feeling that this was the consequence of his wish. By gaining the ability to perceive magic, he had inadvertently amplified the latent magical energies of the entire area. His very presence was acting as a catalyst, awakening dormant powers that had lain hidden for centuries. I think this is my fault," he admitted. "My first wish was to understand and perceive magical energies, but it seems I've done more than just perceive them. I've activated them on a massive scale." Dr. Chen's eyes widened. Fascinating. The introduction of an alien consciousness attuned to these energies must have triggered a resonance effect. It's like a feedback loop, amplifying the magical field exponentially. "That's all very interesting," Jack cut in, "but how do we stop it? Look." He pointed to the sky, where swirling vortexes of color were beginning to form. The magical disturbance was growing, threatening to spiral out of control. Lyra placed a hand on Zack 7's shoulder. "This is why wishes must be carefully considered. Even the purest desire for knowledge can have far-reaching consequences." Mayor Thompson turned to Lyra, her expression determined. "You granted this wish. Can you undo it?" Lyra shook her head. "Once granted, a wish cannot be undone, but it can be balanced. Zack 7 has 2 wishes remaining. Used wisely, they might be able to stabilize the situation." All eyes turned to Zack 7. The alien explorer felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. His simple curiosity had unleashed forces beyond his understanding, potentially putting this entire town, and maybe the planet, at risk. "I need to think carefully," he said. "Another hasty wish could make things worse." As they hurried toward the town center, dodging floating objects and streams of colorful energy, Zack 7's mind raced. He needed to find a way to contain the magical surge without losing the knowledge he had gained. The fate of this town, and possibly Earth's future, hung in the balance. In the town square, a crowd had gathered, their faces a mix of wonder and fear as they watched the impossible unfold around them. Children laughed in delight as they floated gently in the air, while adults tried desperately to maintain some semblance of normalcy. Zack 7 realized that this moment would define humanity's first real contact with both alien life and the resurgence of magic. The decisions he made now would shape the course of human history. As the magical energies continued to build, creating aurora-like displays in the sky and causing the very ground to hum with power, Zack 7 knew he had to act fast. But what wish could possibly contain this burgeoning magical renaissance without stifling the wonder and potential it represented? The alien explorer looked at the humans around him, their fear, their curiosity, their resilience in the face of the unknown. In that moment, he understood that the solution lay not in his alien perspective, but in the very essence of humanity itself. With a deep breath, Zack 7 prepared to make his second wish, hoping that the wisdom of Lyra and the spirit of human ingenuity would guide him toward a solution that would preserve both the magic and the delicate balance of this young, promising world. Human ingenuity unveiled. As the magical chaos swirled around them, Zack 7 realized that the solution to this crisis lay not in suppressing the awakened energies, but in helping humanity adapt to them. With newfound resolve, he turned to Lyra and the gathered humans. "I think I know what to do," he announced, his voice carrying over the din of swirling magic. "For my second wish, I desire that the humans of this town be granted the ability to perceive and interact with magical energies, just as I can." Laura's eyes widened in surprise, but a smile played at the corners of her mouth. Are you certain, Zack 7? This will irreversibly change their world. I am, he replied firmly. They need to understand what's happening if they're to have any hope of controlling it. Mayor Thompson stepped forward, her expression a mix of concern and determination. Wait, shouldn't we have a say in this? You're about to change our entire town. Dr. Chen, however, was practically bouncing with excitement. Mayor, think of the possibilities. We could be on the brink of a scientific revolution. Lyra held up a hand, silencing the debate. The wish has been made, so be it. A wave of silvery light exploded from Lyra, washing over the town and its inhabitants. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Then, like a collective gasp, the townspeople's eyes widened as they began to see the world anew. Oh my God, Jack whispered, staring at his hands, which now shimmered with a faint blue light. I can see it. I can feel it. All around them, people were reacting to their newfound perception. Some laughed in wonder, while others stumbled, overwhelmed by the sudden influx of sensory information. The magical disturbances, however, didn't abate. If anything, they intensified as the townspeople's awakening consciousness interacted with the energies. Mayor Thompson, recovering from the initial shock, took charge. All right, everyone, stay calm. Dr. Chen, what do you make of this? The xenobiologist was already examining the floating objects with intense curiosity. It's incredible. The magical energy seems to respond to our thoughts and emotions. Look. She concentrated on a floating mailbox and with a gesture guided it gently back to the ground. Others, seeing this, began to experiment with their new abilities, slowly bringing order to the chaos. Zack 7 watched in amazement as the humans quickly adapted to their new reality. Within hours, impromptu classes had formed in the town's square, with those who had quickly grasped the basics teaching others how to control the magical energies. Dr. Chen approached Zack 7, her eyes shining with excitement. This is revolutionary. We're going to need to rewrite every textbook on physics. The potential applications are endless. As the day progressed, the town began to transform. The local tech startup, led by a young programmer named Isa, quickly developed an app to help visualize and track magical energy flows. The high school science club, under the guidance of their teacher, Mr. Potol, started experimenting with combining magic and technology to create sustainable energy solutions. Even the local artists got involved, using their newfound abilities to create stunning, gravity-defying sculptures and mesmerizing light shows. The town park became a wonderland of floating gardens and shimmering pathways. However, not everyone was thrilled with the changes. A group of concerned citizens, led by the town's conservative councilman, Robert Green, gathered to voice their worries. This is unnatural, Green proclaimed. We don't know the long-term effects of this alien magic. What if it's harmful? What if it attracts more aliens? Mayor Thompson, who had been tirelessly working to maintain order, addressed the group. I understand your concerns, but look around you. Our town is flourishing. We have an opportunity here to lead the world into a new era of discovery and innovation. As night fell, Zack 7, Lyra, and the town leaders gathered in the community center to discuss the path forward. The alien explorer was impressed by how quickly the humans had not only adapted, but had begun to innovate with their new abilities. Mayor Sarah Thompson of Millbrook, she replied firmly. And we're not just natives. We're a species on the brink of joining the galactic community, thanks in part to Zack 7's intervention. Dr. Chen couldn't contain her excitement any longer. Commander, the fusion of our technology with these newly awakened magical energies could revolutionize space travel, energy production, even the nature of reality itself. We're eager to share our discoveries with the galactic scientific community. Vex 9's posture stiffened. This is precisely the problem. Your species has advanced too quickly, gained access to powers you cannot possibly understand or control. This poses a significant threat to the stability of this sector. Zack 7 felt a sinking sensation in his chest cavity. He knew the Zaraxian protocols were dealing with potentially dangerous civilizations, and they were far from pleasant. Lyra, who had been silently observing, chose this moment to intervene. Perhaps, Commander, you are too quick to judge. These humans have shown remarkable adaptability and wisdom in handling their new abilities. Vex 9 turned sharply, his senses struggling to categorize Lyra. And what manner of being are you? Our scans cannot determine your nature. I am Lyra, guardian of the lake and keeper of wishes, she replied calmly. It is my magic that has facilitated this transformation, guided by Zack 7's wishes and the human's innate potential. The Zaraxian commander conferred quietly with his team, that clicking language incomprehensible to the humans. Finally, he turned back to address the group. After careful consideration, we have determined that this situation requires adjustment, Vex 9 announced. For the safety of this sector, and in accordance with Zaraxian protocols, we must restrict this magical awakening to its current limits. Furthermore, to prevent potential future threats, we will need to limit certain aspects of human advancement. A murmur of concern rippled through the gathered townspeople. Jack, unable to contain himself, burst out, "You can't do that. You can't just come here and decide our future for us." Mayor Thompson placed a calming hand on Jack's shoulder, but her own expression was one of steely determination. "Commander, with all due respect, we cannot accept any limitations on our growth as a species. We are prepared to join the galactic community as equals, not as subjugated primitives." Vex 9's appendages twitched in what Zack 7 recognized as a sign of growing impatience. "You fail to understand the gravity of the situation. The combination of your technological progress and this uncontrolled magical awakening poses too great a risk. We have the means to enforce our decision, with or without your cooperation." As if to emphasize his point, more Zaraxian ships appeared in the sky above Millbrook. The tension in the air was palpable, the magical energies responding to the collective anxiety of the townspeople. Zack 7 knew he had to act fast. He still had one wish left, and the fate of humanity might well rest on how he used it. But what could possibly resolve this conflict without resorting to force or subjugation? As he pondered, Dr. Chen approached him, speaking in a hushed tone. "Zack 7, throughout human history, our greatest advancements have come not through force, but through understanding and cooperation. Is there a way we could help the Zaraxians experience what we've experienced? To see the potential rather than just the threat?" Her words sparked an idea in Zack 7's mind. It was risky, potentially altering the course of not one but two civilizations. Yet, as he looked around at the faces of the humans he'd come to admire, their courage, their creativity, their unyielding spirit, he knew it was the right choice. Turning to Lyra, Zack 7 spoke with clear conviction. "I'm ready to make my final wish." Lyra nodded, her eyes twinkling with something that might have been pride. "Speak your heart's desire, Zack 7 of the stars." Taking a deep breath, Zack 7 announced his wish, his voice carrying to all present, human and Zaraxian alike. "I wish for the Zaraxian people to be granted the same ability to perceive and interact with magical energies as the humans of Millbrook, and for this gift to foster understanding and cooperation between our species." A hush fell over the gathering as the implications of the wish sank in. Then, like a wave of starlight, a pulse of energy emanated from Lyra, washing over the Zaraxians. For a moment, everything was still. Commander Vex 9 was the first to react, his exosuit's appendages flailing as he adjusted to the new sensory input. This is impossible. The energy readings, the quantum fluctuations, it defies all our scientific principles. Dr. Chen approached cautiously, her own aura glowing with a warm, inviting light. "That's the beauty of it, Commander. It doesn't defy science, it expands it, just as it has expanded our understanding of the universe." As the other Zaraxians began to explore their new perceptions, the atmosphere began to shift. The hostile stance of the alien visitors softened, replaced by a growing sense of wonder and curiosity. Zack 7 turned to Lyra, concern etched in his features. "Have I done the right thing? I've changed the course of 2 civilizations without their consent." Lyra smiled enigmatically. "You've opened a door, Zack 7. What lies beyond it will be up to both humans and Xeraxians to discover together." As night fell on Millbrook, humans and Xeraxians began to mingle, sharing their experiences and marveling at the new reality they found themselves in. The threat of conflict had been replaced by the excitement of joint discovery. Yet, as Zack 7 watched this unprecedented interaction unfold, he couldn't help but wonder about the challenges that lay ahead. The rest of Earth was still unaware of these monumental changes, and the broader Xeraxian Empire would soon learn of this transformation. The stage was set for a new chapter in galactic history, one that would test the limits of both human ingenuity and Xeraxian adaptability. As the stars twinkled overhead, seeming to pulse with newfound magical energy, Zack 7 realized that his journey, and that of both Earth and Xeraxa, was only just beginning. Humanity's triumph. In the days that followed the fateful encounter in Millbrook, the world beyond the small town began to take notice of the extraordinary events unfolding. News helicopters circled overhead, while government officials and scientists from around the globe converged on the once quiet community. Zack 7, along with Lyra, Maya Thompson, and Dr. Chen, found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. They worked tirelessly to mediate between the curious humans arriving daily and the Xeraxian delegation, which had shifted from a potential threat to eager partners in exploration. As the sun rose on the 5th day since the magical awakening, an emergency global summit was called. Leaders from every nation gathered virtually to discuss the implications of the Millbrook incident. Zack 7 and Commander Vex 9 stood side by side before an array of screens, facing the collective leadership of Earth. "People of Earth," Zack 7 began, his translator conveying the gravity in his voice, "what has occurred in Millbrook is only the beginning. The fusion of magic and technology offers unlimited potential for advancement, but it also presents challenges we must face together." Commander Vex 9 continued, "The Xeraxian Empire has voted to recognize Earth as an emerging power in the galactic community. We offer our knowledge and resources to help guide your transition." The human leaders peppered them with questions about the nature of magic, the extent of the changes, and the potential risks. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Distinguished leaders, what we're witnessing is not just the dawn of a new era for Earth, but a paradigm shift in our understanding of the universe itself. The possibilities are endless. Clean energy, advanced healing, space travel beyond our wildest dreams. But we must approach this gift with wisdom and cooperation." As the summit progressed, it became clear that the world was divided. Some nations embraced the magical awakening with open arms, eager to explore its potential. Others reacted with fear and suspicion, calling for containment and control. In Millbrook, the townspeople had already begun to show the world what was possible. Aisha's tech startup had developed a global app that helped people visualize and interact with magical energies safely. The high school science club, working with Xeraxian engineers, had prototyped a device that could harness magical energy to purify water and air on a massive scale. But it was the artists of Millbrook who truly captured the world's imagination. They collaborated with Xeraxian aesthetics experts to create a breathtaking display of magic and technology, a shimmering, ever-changing sculpture that hovered above the town square, broadcasting a message of hope and unity to all who saw it. As the debate raged on in the global summit, an unexpected crisis emerged. A rogue nation, fearing the loss of its geopolitical power, launched a military strike against Millbrook, hoping to contain the spread of magic. The world watched in horror as missiles streaked across the sky towards the small town. But in that moment of peril, humanity's potential shone brightest. Maya Thompson, her voice calm but commanding, coordinated the town's defense. Millbrook's newly trained mages worked in concert with Xeraxian technology to create a shimmering dome of protection over the town. The missile struck the barrier and dissolved into harmless sparkles of light. Dr. Chen, working feverishly with a team of international scientists and Zaraxian experts, used the magical energy to tap into the global communications network. In an instant, she broadcast a vision of peace and unity directly into the minds of every person on Earth. For a brief moment, all of humanity was connected, feeling each other's fears, hopes, and dreams. The aggressor nation stood down, its leaders and citizens alike moved by the shared experience of global consciousness. In the aftermath of the failed attack, the world rallied around Millbrook. The town became a symbol of human potential and interspecies cooperation. Nations that had been hesitant now clamored to be part of the magical awakening. Zack 7 watched in awe as humanity rose to the challenge. Within months, magical technological innovations began to solve some of Earth's most pressing problems. Climate change was reversed as magical atmospheric scrubbers cleaned the air. Hunger became a thing of the past as enchanted farms produced abundant crops in any climate. The Zaraxian Empire, too, was transformed by the experience. The rigid hierarchy that had defined their civilization for eons began to give way to a more flexible, creative society inspired by human adaptability. 1 year after his crashed landing in the forest, Zack 7 stood once again by the lake where he had first met Lyra. The once quiet town of Millbrook had become the center of a global renaissance, a shining beacon of human-alien cooperation. "You've done well, Starborn One," Lyra said, appearing beside him. "Your wishes have changed the course of 2 civilizations." Zack 7 nodded, his multifaceted eyes taking in the bustling town beyond. "I only opened the door. It was humanity that stepped through and showed us all what was possible." As they spoke, a group of children, human and Zaraxian, ran past, laughing as they played with balls of magical light. In the distance, a spacecraft of human Zaraxian design prepared for its maiden voyage to the stars, powered by the harmonious blend of technology and magic. "What happens now?" Zack 7 asked, turning to Lyra. The magical guardian smiled, her form shimmering with otherworldly energy. Now the real adventure begins. Humanity has taken its first steps into a larger universe, armed with creativity, compassion, and the power to shape reality itself. The story of Earth and Zaraxa is far from over, it's only just beginning. As the sun set on Millbrook, casting a golden glow over the magically enhanced landscape, Zack 7 felt a sense of profound satisfaction. His mission to observe had turned into something far greater, a catalyst for change, a bridge between worlds, and the beginning of a new chapter in the cosmic story. The tale of the alien who discovered a magical fish had transformed into an epic of 2 species reaching for the stars together, their combined potential limitless. And somewhere in the vast expanse of the universe, other civilizations looked towards Earth with growing interest, wondering what marvels this young, magical, and infinitely surprising world would bring to the galactic stage. The end was just the beginning, and the greatest adventures lay ahead, waiting to be written in the stars.